Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Good morning and welcome back to Your Partner in Success Radio. I am your host, Denise Griffitts. And as we move towards the end of the year, and this has been one of the fastest years on record, as far as I can tell, it's the perfect time to take an honest look at where we are, what success truly means, and how our daily habits and decisions shape the results that we see. And my guest today, Lieutenant Colonel retired Oakland McCulloch, he's a friend of mine, he's a mentor. He knows leadership from the inside out, from the battlefield to the boardroom, and his experience reminds us that success begins with clarity, consistency, and character. Write that down. Clarity, consistency, and character. And today's episode is sponsored by What's Right with America by Honorable Paul Johnson and Larry Aldrich. Now, this book, it's one of my favorite books on my bookcase. This book explores what truly makes our country strong, from the vision of the founding fathers to the resilience and determination that have carried us through generations. And it's a reminder that America's prosperity isn't just about economics. It's built on freedom, individual empowerment, and a deep commitment to justice and liberty. Listen, I highly recommend this book to anyone who is concerned about where our country is headed and who wants to be reminded of what still works and what's still worth standing for. You can find What's Right with America on Amazon. Just type in What's Right with America. And now back to Oak. Oak, thank you for being with me here again today. This is the third time.
No, I'm excited about it. I'm glad you asked me to come back.
I think I might have begged. I was like, please, 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 please come back. But you have guided me both as a mentor and a friend, and I'm excited to share more of your leadership wisdom with our listeners. So I guess one of my first questions is, how do you define success? And how can someone determine what success really looks like for them? And this is an important question, not just what others expect.
Yeah, I think it starts with you. I mean, one of my favorite quotes and still the most impressive man I ever met in person, General Colin Powell said one time, if you let somebody else define what success looks for you, don't be disappointed when you don't get what you want. And so it starts with the individual. You got to decide what success looks like for you. And it will change. What I looked at, what I thought success was going to be for me when I was 18, looking into the future, certainly changed after I got married, after I had children, that life events will change what your definition of success is. And I always tell people, come up with what it is today, but every so often you got to revisit that and say, okay, that my life has changed, things have happened, life has happened, so it may change in the future, and that's okay. I always tell people, a couple things that you have to think about when you're thinking about success. Number one is you have to remember your values, because it all goes back to your values. Whatever those are, however you define your values, and you need to define them, just coming up with 5 words isn't your values. You have to define what they actually mean to you and write them down and keep them close so you can review them every once in a while. And when you got to make decisions and do things, go back to your values. Because I see this all the time, and I know you have too as well, Denise. People will have this definition of where they want to be 20 years from now, and they may get there. But the problem is, if you don't go back to your values every time you got to make a decision and do things, then lots of times you make compromises on your values to get that next promotion, to get that next pay raise, to move forward. And what good does it do to get where you want to be 20 years from now if you don't like the person you are when you get there?
Yeah, if you've spent a lot of time chipping away at your values or not even really recognizing what they mean to you, you could things are probably not going to go well internally or externally for you.
Oh, absolutely. My litmus test is always, do I like the person who's looking back at me in the mirror when I shave every morning? If the answer is yes, then I think I'm doing pretty well. If the answer is no, then I've gone off my values at some point, and I need to readdress that and fix it. And that's just it. I mean, none of us are perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do dumb things. I have done plenty of dumb things in my life,
Oh, we're
but
talking daily here.
yeah, yeah. I mean that's just the fact of life. We're all human, and we're going to make mistakes. And the key is that once you make a mistake, figure it out and fix it and move forward from there, because that's all you can really do.
Well, you can't hang around and go, "Oh, me, oh, my, I boo-booed." You have to figure out why you did it. Are you going to do it again? Because, sometimes we will. And then move on from there, but you can't hang on to grief or shame or, "Oh, geez." I mean, you can't hang on to it. You just have to keep on moving.
That's right. That doesn't do us any good to wallow in our sorrow or our pity or whatever. You figure out what you did, you learn from it, and you fix it, and you move on. And hopefully, you make that same mistake in the future. And again, I think it just goes back to remembering what your values are and what you're trying to accomplish. And hopefully, it isn't all just about money. Hopefully, some of the things you want to accomplish is helping other people be successful as well, because I think that's part of what we should be doing as not only leaders, but as people, is to help other people be successful as well. If that's not why we're on this earth, then I don't know why it is.
And that goes back to what you and I have talked about a lot on this show and in, private conversations is servant leadership. And I'll be honest with you, I had not heard that term until about 10 years ago. I had no idea what it meant. But once I started figuring out, I went, "Oh, okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense."
Yeah. Well, it's because I do believe that, your job as a leader is to help other people be not only successful, but also be better people. And, as a mentor, when you make decisions as a leader, because you're going to have an impact on people's life every day as a leader. Every decision you make that will impact somebody. Sometimes the second and third and fourth order effect, which you have to think about as a leader, but you're going to impact people's lives. So you need to, make conscious decisions about what you're doing, and think about that, not only for you and your organization, but for the people who are in your organization.
That's right. And yeah, and once I understood what servant leadership was, I went, "Oh, I've been doing that. I just hadn't named it." But it was nice to know that it had an explanation, that I wasn't just doing stuff because it felt right.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and lots of times you have to make decisions that may not be in your best interest, but they're in the interest of the organization you're leading or the people you're leading. And and that's where the personal courage uh comes in. My three values that I believe in 100% is integrity, selfless service, and personal courage. And I think those three have to go together. For me, at least they do, because integrity, again, leaders do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That's my definition of integrity, even when it's not in your best interest. And if you don't have the personal courage part of it, then when you come to that fork in the road where you have to make a decision, and that is a decision that is in my best interest, or if it's the decision that's in the best interest of the organization and the people in the organization, then if you don't have personal courage, you're always going to take the 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 fork in the road that's in your best interest. So I think, and then selfless service, again, I think that's what life is about is it's not about you, it's about other people. Yeah, I got it. We all got to eat, we all got to live. So you got to make money, you got to be successful. But along the road, you got to take care of other people as well. And I think that's very important as a leader and as a person.
I agree with you. And look, when we're younger and we're stupid and arrogant, we do some things that you look back and go, what the heck was I thinking? Well, I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking. And see, the answer is I wasn't thinking. I was just doing or whatever felt good or, whatever served me. But if you are paying attention, you do eventually grow out of that.
Well, I think part of it is that our egos get in the way.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and we all have an ego, and that's okay. We want people to have an ego because that's what drives people to be successful. That's what drives them to be the best at whatever it is they do, which benefits other people as well. But good leaders and good people know when to put that ego aside and understand that it isn't all about them. It's about the community. It's about the organization. It's about the people that you have the privilege to lead. And it is a privilege to be the leader. And I think too many leaders today have forgotten that it is a privilege, and just look around and you can see the result of that. Um, and I think that, again, you just have to recognize that you have an ego and make conscious decisions to put it aside uh, at certain points and certain decisions that you have to make.
And I just wrote down while you were talking, leadership is not an assigned role. I mean, you can, get whatever you're going to get the corner office, you're going to get whatever. But unless you grow into the leadership values, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, and not a leader I want to work for.
No,
And I think we too often we forget about you know that that the informal leadership part of it. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. There's all kinds of people out there that maybe the leader isn't a good leader, and when they really have to get something done, they go to somebody else who doesn't have the title, but they have the influence and the knowledge and the abilities to make something happen, even though they don't have the title of leader.
and the
You know,
willingness to make it happen.
yeah, absolutely. The title, and it's nice to have that title, and hopefully you've earned it, and the people respect you as the leader. But you can be a leader in any time. I used to do a whole lot of work with one of the football teams, college football teams here in the area, and one of the things I told them was, look, just because you're not the captain doesn't mean you're not a leader. There's going to be opportunities for you to step up and be a leader of this team, even without the title of being the captain or a captain of the team. When your buddy drops the pass in the end zone on the last play of the game, and that costs you the game, this is your opportunity to be a leader. You can either yell at the guy and treat him badly, or you can walk up and say, hey, we're going to need you the rest of the season. And the next time you're going to do better.
Right.
Be that positive person who understands that, again, we all make mistakes. We're not perfect. But that doesn't mean that we're still not valuable and that we can add something to the team.
And what I'm hearing from you, Oak, is that leadership isn't a chronic, constant thing that you do all day, all night, and even in your sleep. It's moments.
Oh, that's brilliant, Denise, and it is absolutely true. Um, there are times there are those times when you have to step up and you have to do something, and there's other times when you're not the person who everybody's looking at. Even as a leader, if you're a good leader, you've delegated stuff and given people that opportunity to prove themselves as a leader, which you need to do, because that's how you're going to pick that next generation of leaders, that next promotion. Too often we promote people in this country for the wrong reasons. Just because somebody's the best salesman in your company or the best mechanic or the best whatever, pick whatever you want, doesn't mean they're going to be a good leader if you haven't trained them and and develop them as into that position. And I see it all the time. And you're setting that person up for failure. You're setting the company up for failure, and you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't develop that in people before you promote them to that position.
Or even ask them if they want it.
Oh, there you go. There's lots of people who don't want to be a leader. They
No.
don't want that responsibility. Um, and that's okay. But we need to know that, because you don't want to promote somebody who doesn't want the job.
Or knows
Absolutely.
they can't do it, or they're suffering or laboring under extreme imposter syndrome. There's so many reasons.
Oh, absolutely. Or, the situation in their life. They got things going on at home that is just taking up so much of their time. There's lots of reasons why somebody doesn't want to be a leader. And you don't want to make somebody a leader who doesn't want to be one.
And for crying out loud, don't make your nephew the leader.
Yeah.
Nepotism's about the worst thing.
Unless they're the most qualified person. If they're the most qualified person, that's okay. But too often we see that where somebody gets a leadership position that doesn't really deserve it, and it does nothing but hurt the organization.
Oh, yeah, it runs down the ranks. Everybody is resentful. They're irritated. They're looking at this person going, well, he's an idiot. Yeah, it's hard to work under those circumstances. I've seen it. So leaders and professionals can better manage their time when everything feels urgent, right? I do it. I mean, I can procrastinate like nobody's business. But once I get it kicked into high gear, I go. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I've always done it.
Well, that old saying that if you leave it to the last minute, it only takes a minute is absolutely true.
Right.
And I think we all fall into that, and sometimes it's not even by your choice. I talk about the good idea fairy. Working for the good idea fairy comes down and says, this is a priority now and we need it done in an hour. Okay, well, you drop everything you're doing and you make it happen if you're motivated and have some self-discipline and want to be the best at whatever you do. You do make it happen. But is that the best option? No, I don't think so. But again, procrastination is that's one of those things that we all do, and sometimes it's done not even that I'm putting it off because I want to put it off. I'm just doing the easier things first, because they're easier to do. And I'm not motivated that day to tackle that harder thing. So I think that's something we always have to be wary of, and I think there's a couple things that help people with time management that if you don't want that to be the case where you put things off to the last minute, or you just not very good at managing your time, there's a couple things you can do. Number one, prioritize what goes on your calendar, not what is on your calendar. If it's not something that you have to do as a leader, then delegate it to somebody else, not to get it off your plate. It does do that, but that's not why, because that's a learning experience for somebody else. So allow them to learn how to do some of the things that you do. You sometimes do that you don't have to do as the leader. And then I tell people, leave some white space on your calendar. And throughout my life, I've not been really good at this. I'm an expert at trying to fit 36 hours in a 24-hour day, and it doesn't
Me
work.
too.
There's only 24. I don't care how hard you try.
I know. And I don't like to sleep. I really don't like it. I've never been good at it. It's not one of my higher skills, and it cuts into my reading time.
That's right.
So I do get a lot of hours, but sometimes I think, oh, yeah, maybe you ought to try to sleep for 8 hours. I would wind up in a hospital because I would be really, really sick if I did that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah. Well, your body knows how much sleep you need.
Oh, yeah.
And when it reaches that point, I set my alarm for 5 o'clock every morning. Almost never goes off. I mean, because when I'm done sleeping, my body tells me and I get up. But I think leaving white space on your calendar is important, because that allows you to deal with things that are unexpected. Somebody who has a problem that needs to come talk to you, or
Right.
or just, some downtime to reflect and think about what's going on. And then, I had a boss who retired, a 3-star general, and he told me, and he was a great mentor of mine. And he's he said, when you're thinking about time management, think about all the things that you have to do. Those are all balls, and you're juggling those balls and keeping them all in the air. He said, to really figure out what the priorities are, what should go on your calendar, and what you should be dedicating your time to. He said, think of it this way. Some of those balls are glass and some of them are rubber. He said, you can let the rubber balls drop and you can pick them up in an hour, next day, a week from now, a year from now. It doesn't matter. But those ones that are really the priorities, those are glass balls, and you can't let those drop, because when they drop, they're shattered. They're gone. You can't go back and pick them up. And he said, and that just made so much sense to me. And that's always stuck in my mind that, that's really how you figure out what the true priorities are those things that you can't go back and fix, or you can't pick them back up a week from now, because by then it doesn't really matter. And that always helped me with my time management. And the last thing I tell people about time management is, don't, put it on your calendar. If it's on your calendar, if it's obviously a priority, then it needs to be done. But even then, there's times like the Good Idea Fairy, who's your boss, walks in, and that may be your priority on your calendar, but the boss walks in and says, okay, drop everything else. This is the new priority. Then take that item on your calendar and put it somewhere else on your calendar. Don't steal time from yourself, borrow
Just
time.
move it. Yeah, move it.
Because if it doesn't go back on my calendar, I'm probably not doing it.
And Ben Gay and I were talking Wednesday about something very, very similar on our the other podcast that I do, the Closers Inner Circle podcast. And Napoleon Hill taught him, how to do his calendar, which is just this amazing work of art. But we were talking about the fact that, if you'll write down just 3 things, just 2 or 3 things that are critical, they need to be done. But we both agreed that any time somebody says, you have to do this one first, this one second, this one third, I fight with my NAV system. You're not the boss of me. I'm going to go this way and I'm going to get lost. But I have found that I have to work, and I do get them done. It may be midnight, it may be noon, it could be these things, if they're critical, if they're really important, they are going to get done. But they're going to get done with my own rhythm, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it absolutely does. In the Army, we used to have this thing we called the battle rhythm. And
Okay.
we all have that. Hours of the day where you are better at something than other times.
Right.
And you got to figure out what that is for you, and then you do the hard things at your peak battle rhythm time. You do the easier things when you're not your best, when you're not spot on, maybe. And I think we all have to figure that out for ourselves. Somebody else can't dictate that to you, because your body is your body, and it's going to react certain ways based on just being yourself. So that you're absolutely right. I think that's true.
And I used to think I was a morning person, not that I was an evening person. Turns out I'm a 24-hour person because I don't really sleep. And then, it's just, I've always done this. But I have found in the last 3 years at around 2:00 in the afternoon Central Time, I'm done. I'm going outside. I'm going to, destroy something in the flower beds. I'm going to walk the dog. I'm going to read a book. I may wash dishes. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm done. But about 7:00 at night, I'm like, ooh, and off I go.
Yeah, I think you hit something there. We all have that rhythm where we just got to take a break. And again, I think that's part of the white space, I think, on your calendar.
And that's what made me think of it.
Yeah, figure out when that is, and then allow yourself to recharge, to rejuvenate, to just think about whatever, not necessarily work. Think about whatever else it is, because we all need to recharge. And I tell people all the time, you have to have that capability to recharge, because because we get drained. And somebody asked me one time, they said, so how do you know when it's time? I said, well, you'll know. I said,
Oh, yeah.
the things that you love to do, here's how I always know when it's time for me to recharge. The things that I love to do become work. They become an effort for me to do them. That's when I know I got to, okay, just stop and recharge your battery. And then you got to have a way to do that. For me, it's the 4 F's, faith, friends, or faith, family, friends, and fishing. So I got to do at least one of those when I need to recharge my battery, and maybe multiple ones of them, depending on how depleted it is. But
Yeah.
you got to figure out what those are for you that help you recharge your battery. And maybe, like you said, maybe it's going out in your garden and just destroying something out there, or spending time with your pet, or whatever it is. But you need to have that time to recharge your batteries, because once your batteries get so low, you're not helping anybody, including yourself.
Right. And I'm a nerd in stilettos, and I can tell when I'm just done because, I'm building something. I've got these giant monitors. I've got windows open. I'm building code. I'm writing articles. I'm always in front of these monitors. And then I'll realize I'm reading the same thing over and over again. I'm hunched over my keyboard. I'm not even comfortable. So, the old Alice's restaurant. You go outside with your tools of destruction, your implements of
That's
destruction.
right.
And that's what I do. I just go outside and I start, planting, tearing things up, or I just get in I've got this wonderful lounge chair out there underneath the pecan trees, and I'll just get out there and stare up at the canopies in the trees.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, we need that on occasion. And I used to run a lot. I don't run so much anymore because 40 years associated with the Army has broken my body. But I used to run a lot, and I used to tell people that was always my time. I could either think about something, a problem, an issue, whatever, or I could think about nothing, just run
Right.
and enjoy myself. And I know a lot of people say, well, how can you enjoy yourself running? But I actually did. I actually miss running. But now I use fishing as that. I can go out, and while I'm fishing, I can either think about a problem or an issue or a solution to something, or I can just sit there and fish and just enjoy it and not think about anything. So, those times are important to you. They really are.
Well, they help you calm down. They help you reset. And we're all creatives. People that I know who are like you, entrepreneurial minded, or they're in leadership, we're all creatives. We just don't recognize it until later in life, I think, that we're creative. I never knew, didn't have a clue. I thought I was an A-type personality, which I am. I'm an autodidact, so I break things so I can put them back together and figure out how they work. I fight with the nav system, but I had no idea for way too long that I'm a very creative person. And then once I started recognizing that, I shifted how I operate.
Yeah. Well,
Chick-
yeah, I agree. You have to understand yourself and what it is that motivates you. And that talk about motivation. I think the three things that are absolutely tied together, and they need to be in your life, are your habits, your motivation, and your self-discipline. Um, and the way I look at it is this: your motivation is the engine that drives you. It's what makes you want to do what you do. And that's great. And then the self-discipline is the framework. That's your values, the structure of your life that you want to stay within, left and right limits, if you want to say it that way. And then the habits are the daily tools that you use throughout the day to get where you want to be. And those habits need to stay inside that framework as well. And those three things need to be tied together because, you know, in the perfect world, we'd all get up motivated every day. That's called fantasy land. That place doesn't exist because we're not motivated every day. And if
No,
you don't have the self-discipline to do the things that the self-discipline makes you do the things that you would have done on the days that you were motivated when you wake up not motivated. If you don't have self-discipline, then on that day, the next morning when you're not motivated and the alarm clock goes off at 5 o'clock for your 3-mile run, you'll shut it off and you'll roll over and go back to sleep, or that 15-minute extra bit of work that you have to do to get that project not only done, but done to the best of your ability. You'll say, well, that's good enough. I'll just go with that.
I hate that term. I catch myself saying, oh, that's good.
Oh, I hate that.
No, it's not. And I have talks with myself. I'm pointing my finger at my nose. Don't say that again.
Yeah. I just want to choke people when they tell me that's good enough.
Right.
No, I got it. Based on time, resources, whatever, there may come a point where, okay, it's got to be, this is as good as I can make it. But it's not because I said that was good enough. It's because I've run out of time. I got to make a decision. I got to make this happen. Then it is what it is. Hopefully that you've done as well as you can do to get to that point. But to just say that's good enough when you could make it better just drives me nuts.
And when I catch myself doing that, and it's more often than I like to admit, I will say, oh, geez. And then I'll walk out, go out to the backyard, because that's kind of my thinking space. And I'll come back in and say, no, that wasn't good enough. And I go right back into it until it's done to my satisfaction.
That's right. And that's the key. I mean, you got to have that, again, I think we talked about this, my dad's 75% rule when I was growing up. You got to have that desire to be the best at whatever it is that you do. And he used to say, if you can't do something better than 75% of the people doing it, then you need to either figure out how to get better at it, or you need to go find something else to do, because obviously it doesn't matter to you. And I lived with that rule, and I pass it on to my kids, and I try to pass it on to my grandkids and whoever else will listen, because I think that's one of the keys to life, is to want to be the best at whatever you do. That, we also have to learn how to lose, because we're not always going to be the best at whatever we do, but that you got to have that desire to be the best at whatever you do. And I think I see that missing in a lot of people today. Just good enough. Just good enough.
Yeah, no, it's not. And when I'm talking about, oh, it's good enough, I have to go back and make incremental changes to my attitude, because it's not good enough and it's going to irritate the heck out of me. Listen, if something's on my calendar and I didn't get it done by midnight, and I'm going to try to go to sleep at midnight, which is not unusual. At 1 o'clock, I may make it, but that's bugging the back of my head. It's itching. It's like the back of my neck itches, and I have to get up and go fix it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that comes from a winning attitude, that, and winning doesn't have to mean a game. It doesn't have to mean any of that. Winning is just, I'm being the best at whatever I'm doing, and I'm getting the things done that I need to get done. Turn it into a personal winning thing. And I'm very competitive, as I have no doubt you are as well. And I want to win at everything I do. I don't care if I'm playing Old Maid with my 11-year-old granddaughter. I want to win,
Monopoly.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is.
Place. That's all there is to it.
I want to win. And I think that that is what keeps us moving. That's what keeps driving us forward, is I got to get better so that I can be the best at whatever it is I do. I don't care what that is. Whatever you do, you should want to be the best at it. I had a job I didn't really like in the Army one time, and I was on the phone with my dad, and I was whining to him, which was my first mistake. And he sat there and he listened for a few minutes, and then finally he just said, "Oak, shut up." He said, I don't care if the Army tells you to go out and sweep motor pools, be the best motor pool sweeper in the Army. He said, whatever you're doing, be the best at it. And because then you are showing them that you will do whatever needs to be done to be successful. And that will lead to your next promotion. That'll lead to your next job that you may actually like. He said,
but you're showing yourself at the same time. And you're the most important person to show that to.
That's right. And we forget that sometimes, that we're so, we want to impress other people, but you really got to impress yourself. You have to have that self-confidence, that self-desire and feed that on occasion. Again, talk about ego. We all have one, and I don't think that necessarily means you have an ego just because you want to be the best at whatever you do. It just means you want to do the best job you can do at whatever it is that you're doing.
Well, why wouldn't you want to prove to yourself that you can be the best at whatever?
That's right.
Whatever it is that you're doing? I don't understand anybody who would cripple themselves with having a different attitude.
Yeah, I agree, Denise. Absolutely.
Well, and Oak, you have mentioned routines inside of routines. What does that mean? And how can our listeners use that idea to build more structure and consistency into their day so they can wake up every day and say, I got this. I'm going to do it. May not want to. And I have those mornings. My mom sent me a birthday card years ago, and I still laugh at it because I opened it up and there's somebody crawling out of bed. And then the next little vignette in it is somebody jumping out of bed, and the devil says, oh, crap, she's awake. It's like, thanks, Mom. But she
Yeah.
right. But some days, I hit that floor and I go, and then I hear myself whining, and I have to have a talk with myself.
That's right. So I'm, going back to habits, I think, and we are all creatures of habit.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who tells you they're not is lying to themselves and to you, because we are all creatures of habit. I promise you. But I think, and some of those habits are good and some are bad, and we got to try to eliminate or reduce the bad habits and try to increase the good habits. But when I talk about routines inside of routines, what I believe, and it works for me, is that if you want to develop a good habit, then do it the same way, in the same place, at the same time, every day. So that will help drive building that habit. So that
Like it's a muscle memory.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to that time of the day, you know what you're supposed to be doing because you've done it that way for so long. I start and end my day exactly the same way, no matter where I am in the world, no matter what I'm doing. When I get up, I listen to the daily mass, then I listen to a couple of chapters of the Bible, and then I do my daily prayers. That I know when I wake up, those are the things I'm doing immediately. I don't have to think about it. I go to my chair. The one thing that truly is mine in this house is my chair. And I sit down there.
You can't expect better. I'm sorry.
and I know that's what I'm going to do. And then I end my day the exact same way. I read something, because I think that's important to read something every day. And I don't care what it is. It can be politics. It can be religion. It can be something that has to do with your job. It can just be for entertainment. I don't care. Read something every day. So I read something. I write in my journal. I've kept a journal for 52 years. And then I reflect on my day. What was I supposed to do today? How can I get better at it tomorrow? That is how you improve yourself every day. What was I supposed to do today? What did I do? How can I get better at it tomorrow? And I promise you, if you add daily reflection to your life, it will change your life.
And gratitude is critical.
Absolutely. And I think the routine inside of routines is what helps you develop those good habits that that then become, like you said, muscle memory or second thought. You don't have to think about it. You just do it.
Right. And, we're talking about goals here, goals and routines. But years ago, I had a female coach, and she was my very first coach, and I didn't know what to expect. And she was very quiet. She would listen to me. And I think I did an awful lot of whining. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did. And okay, I'm just going to fess up. I did. But at one point, she got very, very quiet, and I thought, oh, she hung up on me. She finally got sick of me. I was already sick of me at the end of that conversation. And she said, Denise, and I said, yes, ma'am, because I was scared. And she said, what are you tolerating?
Yeah.
That hit me right smack in the head. But I realized over time that so many of my habits were because of what I was tolerating.
Right.
That was an opener for me.
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's true. I mean, we do tolerate things that we should not.
Right.
And some of those, bad habits that we have that we tolerate were inflicted on us as kids or whatever that we got into the habit of doing. Um, doesn't mean you can't change them. You certainly can. It's not easy. I mean, a lot of habits aren't easy to change, but it can be done if you want to do it. That just takes that conscious decision.
And awareness. You have to be aware
That's
that
right.
that's what you're doing. You can't just go, well, I'm going to go do this because I've always done it this way. And look, when I hear people say, well, it's always been done this way, I just go, oh my
Oh yeah,
gosh,
that's
really?
what a
Yeah.
horrible answer. What a horrible answer.
And you hear it too many times. He said, well, we've always done it that way. Well, good for you. And I'll Ellie him to death. Well, you just have a nice day now. You hear? I'm not going to
Yeah,
sit around and listen to it.
yeah. Well, you're right. You have to recognize. You have to be honest with yourself, and that's one of the keys to reflection. If you reflect at the end of the day, but you're not honest with yourself, what did I really do? What was I supposed to do? What did I really do? And how can I get better at it? If you're not honest, you're wasting your time. But the thing, because it is a conscious decision to decide to be better than you are today, and every decision that we make has a consequence. Every decision has a consequence. Some of those are good. Some give us good results. Some give us bad results. But every decision we make is going to have a consequence, and we got to get to the point in our life where we make that conscious decision. We're actually thinking about, okay, I'm going to make this decision. What is the likely consequence out of that? And, my father used to tell me that all the time, son, every decision you make is going to have a consequence, some good, some bad. And you got to get to the point in your life where you're making good decisions that give you good consequences. And he said, and I'm going to help you figure out how to do that. And he told me, every time you're about to make a decision, stop and think, would you want your mother to know you're about to make this decision?
Oh boy. Or your
If
grandma
the
singing
answer
on
is
a
yes,
billboard.
yeah.
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then it's probably a pretty good decision. If the answer is no, then you probably need to rethink that decision. And I still use that today. I don't use my mother, I use my wife. Would I want Kel to know I'm about to do this? And you can use it at work. Would I want my boss to know I'm about to do this? It, it's just that conscious decision. Think about what it is that you're about to do before you do it, and think about the consequences that are going to come from it.
And I have to ask you because, I mean, you're making perfect sense to me. And when you're talking about, do I want my wife to know this or my boss to know this? When I read some of this horrible stuff on social media, I keep thinking, do you want your grandma to see that on a billboard? I mean, really? I
Absolutely.
don't know what people are even thinking these days, but
Or your grandkids or whoever. I mean,
yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. But, talking about consequences, which I think is a very important part of what we're talking about sharing here, I think you have to be able to extrapolate out what could happen, what if or then. You have to do some serious thinking. And you also have to use critical thinking skills, which are on the wane from what I can tell.
we're not teaching them anywhere.
No.
Not in high school, not in college. I spent the last 16 of my years in the Army, or associated with the Army, working at colleges, and very few colleges out there are teaching critical thinking anymore. And that's horrible because, what we're doing, and we're doing them a disservice to young people today. We're teaching them what to think, not how to think. And that always leads to down a bad road. It really does when they can't stop and do that critical thinking. If I do this, these are the possible outcomes.
Right. If this, what then?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's people. People aren't thinking too often, or if they're not thinking, they're showing it. I'm going to say what I'm going to say it. They're showing their ass all over social media.
Yeah, they don't care.
Stop it. Just
And
stop
and
it.
and there are some people out there who don't care.
I
I
know.
got unfortunately, but there are some out there who say, I know this isn't right, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is what I want to do. And that's unfortunate, but those people have always been around. I think there's probably more of them today. And I think part of it is this social media phenomenon that we have, where people can say things that they would never say to your face. But because they're hiding behind social media, they think that they're free to say it. And you're exactly right. I mean, once it's out there, you never know who's going to see that. And you may not care today, but 10 years from now, when you have grandkids and they look at it, you may change your mind at that.
It doesn't go away. And
it does not.
And we have the same conversations with ourselves. I'm a highly committed introvert. I don't hide that at all. I'm not shy. I'm just an introvert. But I have conversations with myself that honestly, and I know we all do it, this is negative thing that runs through our brains. And I'll be honest with you, if anybody in a Walmart parking lot spoke to me the way I sometimes speak to myself, I would need bail money. So, don't tell yourself, I can do this. There's no consequence. There is.
Absolutely. Absolutely there is. And I think, you hit something that I think is, again, very important, is that you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Because again, we are going to make mistakes, and we're going to do things that maybe we're not proud of or that we wish we had done differently. But the only way to fix that, to make us better people, is to be completely honest with ourselves. And
identify it.
That's right.
With that. Yeah.
Own up to it. Take responsibility for it. And again, accountability and responsibility in our society today have become dirty words. And we got to fix that, because everybody needs to be held accountable for everything they do or don't do, and their performance and all those kinds of things. From the lowest person in the organization to the CEO, the president, everybody needs to be held accountable. And we got to get back to taking personal responsibility for the things we do.
And I wanted to ask you about this, and it's not on my list of questions that I have, but we're talking about it, so I'm going to go there. Military enrollment is up, big time up. And I have always found, talking with people like you and people when I was a kid growing up who were in the military, they're different. They're different people. They're disciplined for the most part. They're forward thinking for the most part. They have critical thinking. I mean, they're taught things and they discover things about themselves that they may not have learned that without some kind of organization to help them. What do you think?
I agree. I think, one of my jobs in the Army, I was a basic training company commander. So every 3 months, I got 250 new 18, 19, 20-year-old privates in. And it was my job and the drill sergeant's job, really, not mine. But I had to overwatch the drill sergeants, make sure they didn't do dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't let their ego get in their way and do some things they shouldn't. But, I used to tell people, and I still tell people, I have a friend who, her son just signed up for the Army, and she asked me if I'd talk to him, and I did. I will always do that for somebody. And I said 2 things. I said, number one, remember, you're not the first person who's going through this. It's been done many times, and you'll survive.
Right.
I said, and second, just understand that there is a method to the madness. There is a method, that there's a reason we do what we do at basic training. And it's to help you, because there is a difference between discipline and self-discipline. Absolutely.
That's where I was trying to go. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when those brand new privates came in, that was discipline. What we were doing to them and instilling in them was discipline. You will do it this way, whether you like it or not. This is the right way to do it. By the end of that 3-month period, when they were getting ready to graduate and go out there and be soldiers in the Army, they had graduated to some self-discipline where I didn't have to stand there and tell them that they had to make their bed every day, or the drill sergeant did.
Self-awareness, I would think, would be the biggest thing.
Absolutely. And self-confidence, which, they had gotten to the point where they realized they could do this, that they weren't the first people to go through this. And so I think those things the Army helps instill in people, or if not instill in them, at least strengthen them. Because I think some people, a lot of people have those kinds of things before they come into the service, but it just strengthens those traits that we want in not only soldiers. We'd like to have those in everybody, but certainly soldiers.
And I'm trying to think of the admiral's name. There was a very famous TED Talk called "Make Your Bed."
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I can see his face, but his name eludes me for some reason. But
It's funny
talking
that
about
you
what
mentioned
we're
him.
talking about here.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned him because I just mentioned him the other day in one of my talks in Ohio, because that's it. If you want to be successful, start with the small things. And I have been put in positions to fix organizations that were broken or weren't doing either the right thing or not accomplishing what they were supposed to. And somebody asked me, so how do you do that? How do you turn an organization around? I said, you start with small things. You give that organization things that they can do. So you build their confidence, and then you also build on momentum. So when they accomplish this small thing that you're asking them to accomplish, first of all, you celebrate it.
Admiral McRaven, he just came to me.
Yep, there you go. First, you celebrate it a little bit. Make it a big deal that we accomplished this thing that we were trying to accomplish, and then you move on to the next thing, and you make it a little more difficult and a little more difficult. And by the time you're done, they're doing the things that they should have been able to do all along, and now they have the confidence to do it.
And I was going to ask you about that, because so many people they won't do something because they've already told themselves they can't do it. And I hate that word. That is one word that I do not use personally. I'll say I won't because I'm pig-headed.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that. But I never use the word can't, because that is just soul crushing.
Well, it absolutely is. And we get our 11-year-old granddaughter and our 8-year-old grandson for the month of July. Every year we have for like the last 4 or 5 years, and we love it. It's great having them here, and I look at it. Part of it is my job as a grandfather to help them develop and learn some of the things, but also just because we love having them here. Now, at the end of that month, we remember why young people have children.
I can imagine.
because we are worn out. But last summer, my 11-year-old granddaughter she and my wife and I were talking about something that she was asked to do at school. And she said, I turned it down because I don't think I can do it.
There you go. And she's already told herself it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. And I said to her, I had great opportunity to use one of my favorite quotes. I said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Either way.
Wasn't that said that? Wasn't that Henry Ford or something?
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. Okay. Yeah. I'm smarter than I think I am.
Yeah. What a great, absolutely true. If you don't think you can, you absolutely won't be able to. But if you think you can, at least you got a shot. You might still not be able to do what it is you want to do, but at least you tried and you found out that, yes, I can't do that, but maybe I can do something else. But if you don't try, I guarantee you won't ever do it.
That's exactly right. Listen, years ago, I loved to sing. I sing all the time. Not in the shower. I'm getting God winks in the shower, and I'm scribbling with my bathtub crayons in the shower. But I've been a singer. My whole family, we all sing. And I remember getting ready to walk into choir practice, and I heard this teacher who I really did not like. I couldn't tell you why. He just gave me the icks. Well, we're going to learn how to read music today. And I said, no, I'm not. And I never did. I never did. But that's the first time I understood that the minute I said, well, I can't do that, it happens. I couldn't. I didn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, after that, I went, I don't think I'm going to use that word again.
Yeah. Well, that's funny that you bring that up, because my wife she loves to sing and she's in the choir, but she can't read music either.
Me either. But I was told that I had to. I was like, nope.
No, and I think we all have that little streak in us that there's some things we will not do. Whether it's in our best interest or not, we just get this in our mind that we're not going to do it. And singing is one of those things I will not do. I mean, I'll stand up in front of 1,200 people and talk all day long, but there isn't enough alcohol or money in the world to make me get up in front of somebody and sing. That's not going to happen.
And I was the lead soprano. I mean, I could hit any note they wanted me to hit in the choir room, but they were going to make me the lead solo for this huge thing in the auditorium. I said, no. But Denise, you have to. Oh boy. No,
Yeah.
I don't. And I didn't.
It always used to drive me nuts when people would say, well, you have to do this. No,
No, I don't.
I don't. And you can't make me.
I'm not pig-headed, not even a little bit. But I just didn't. But I'll sing all the time, especially Christmas carols. I love to sing those. Listen, we are running out of time. Let's talk about one practical step that people can take right now that they've been listening to us to finish the year strong, because we are at the end of the quarter. I mean, we've got maybe 2 more months. What can they do to lead themselves and others more effectively in the year coming up?
Yeah, I think you have to go back to look at what the goals you set for this year were, and what it's still going to take to reach that goal, to make things happen that you wanted to happen this year. And it's not too late. At this point, it may mean that you got to double down on certain things to make it happen.
I'm doing that. I'm actually
Yeah,
architecting
we
a
all,
new
we
thing
all,
for the new year, and it's taking all of my time, but I'm
yeah.
so excited about it.
But if it was really important enough to you for you to think that that's something you wanted to do, then it's important enough for you to accomplish it, and whatever that takes to make it happen. But I think again, you just gotta you've got to understand why you came up with that goal in the first place,
Uh,
and figure out that's what drove you to have that goal. So let's accomplish it. Rather than let it go, and because obviously it was important to you at some point.
Very much so, and I'm actually, and I started to kind of contraindicate myself by saying, "Oh, sleepless nights." Like, I sleep anyway, so I can't even use that as an excuse. I'm just going to get it done. Listen, Oak, before we wrap up, you have spoken to so many different audiences, from business leaders to students to service members all over the country, and your message clearly resonates. Do you have a few moments that you can share some reactions that have really stayed with you? Maybe those times that when you can actually see the light bulb go off in the room.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? That is one of my favorite things. Is you'll be talking about something, and it's funny because things that you talk about will resonate with different people. Um, so, some people will grab onto this idea, some will grab onto that idea, and that's always great, because we all come at it at a different level, and a different skill set. So some things somebody may already know, other things they may not know. So, I was honored. A few weeks ago, I spoke to a bunch audience, about 390 people, in Austin, Texas, and at the end of it, they gave me a standing ovation, which was the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah,
And
you told me about that, and I was
yeah, and I was honored by that.
yeah.
And what really drives me, because this is my passion, to help people be better leaders and better people, is the conversations afterwards. Because when I go to a conference or somebody hires me to come talk, I don't just come, do my talk, and leave. I want to get there the night before. I want to get to know people at the social event, hanging around the hotel, just meeting people that are going to be at the conference. Then I give my talk, and then I'm there the rest of the day. At that place in Austin, I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I spoke at 9, and then I didn't get to bed. I didn't get back to my hotel room till 10 o'clock that night. I was just in the hallway in the restaurant, in the bar, just talking to people, answering questions, and I think that's what really drives me, is that I can then help individual people if need be.
If I had to hazard a guess, I would say that those moments, not the ones necessarily when you're in front of the microphone, but those moments when you were there, you were present, you were being helpful, you were listening, those are the moments that people are going to remember and resonate to.
No, I think you're absolutely right. In fact, the person who hired me, she said that she had several people who came up to her after the conference and said, "I can't believe you spent the whole day here talking to people and answering questions." And said no, most of the times they come give their talk and they leave, and that's all you get.
Yeah. And
And
people
that's
notice
sad
that.
to me.
Yep. I know I've worked with many speakers over the years, and you're the first one that I know of that sticks around and stays around and does whatever you can to learn and be present.
Well, I tell the people who hire me, I said, use me. If you want,
Right.
I'll give you my talk, but if you want me to sit on a panel, if you want me to sit in a roundtable discussion, you want whatever, I'm there. I'm there for you guys, not for me.
Understood. Well, Oak, before I let you go, reluctantly, and this is the third time, it's not the last, you can come back any old time you want, but tell people how they can find you and where they can find your book.
Yeah. So my book is on Amazon, and it is hardcover, paperback, ebook, and Audible. And I did the reading on the Audible. The only other person on there is my wife. She did read the foreword and about the author, because she wrote the foreword. And then so you can get it on Amazon. And then if you want to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on most of the social media: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And then I also have my website, and on my website, it has links to all my social media. Substack, that's where I put my articles and my blogs, and that is on Substack. And then it also has my email and my cell phone number. I always love to connect with people. And if there's ever anything I can do to help, you just got to let me know.
And I appreciate that. Well, listen, everybody, today's conversation with Lieutenant Colonel Oakland McCulloch is a very strong reminder that leadership and success are built on values and not shortcuts. And we talked about defining what success really means, setting goals that matter, facing fear head on. We all have it. I mean, I have imposter syndrome like you wouldn't believe. Managing time wisely and creating solid habits and routines that keep you moving forward, even on those hard days. And sometimes, honestly, if you're having a really hard day, take the day off. Don't inflict yourself on anybody else. But Oak's message is simple and it's powerful. When you live by your values, take responsibility for your choices, and build routines. Go back and listen to that, because that's important. Build routines that support your goals. You don't just lead others, you lead yourself. And thank you for listening. I will see you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on your Partner in Success Radio and the Closers Inner Circle podcast. Oak, thank you. I always love chatting with you.
Oh, thanks for having me back on, Denise. Anytime you want me on, you just got to let me know.
I will. You're going to regret that sometime. But thank you. Go forth and have a great weekend.
You too.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.